From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
We are back with another episode of Dale Carter's America with a lot to talk about. Thank you for being here today. Kurt Wheeler is with me. We're in the studios in Raytown, Missouri. And as we get started here today, we want to let you know how you can help us out here, how you can consume the product, share it with others. We are growing this footprint every day.
That's right. That's right. You can follow us on YouTube or Rumble for the video version of the podcast. Make sure to drop a like, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and share the link with your friends. You can find the audio-only version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and then join in the conversation on Facebook as well.
You know, a lot of folks have come to me with, what do you think about this amendment or that amendment? And probably the two sticky ones are 4 and 5 on the Missouri ballot as we go into the August primary. And we're going to have a very special guest on who's going to talk about both sides of those issues. You really need to learn a lot about it because there's a lot of money being spent on both sides of these issues with really creative, colorful commercials that aren't going to tell you the whole story. We'll tell you the whole story. And then you make your decision when you go vote, but please go vote because that is so important. What's important to our podcast is wonderful advertisers who agree with us, who are search for the truth, and that continues because of great folks like Bob Watson, my Blue Springs State Farm agent for 5 decades. He's at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, licensed in both Kansas and Missouri. Bob's been insuring my family for the 31 years that I've lived in the Blue Springs area. Like a good neighbor, Bob is always there, and you know the test of your insurance is when you need to use it. And that's when Bob Watson and his team come through the best. So get a rate quote today. Bundle your home and car insurance. You'll save even more. Blue Springs agent Bob Watson for State Farm Insurance. Appreciate him being on the team here. Campaign update. We are obviously still running. The primary is going on right now. The early voting is going on. So my name is on the ballot. I'm not opposed on the Republican side. My opponent is not opposed on the Democrat side. So we know what the matchup is going to be in November. And it's interesting to me because of all the work that I've done both on KFKF for 31 years, the podcast now, 5.5 years we've been doing this?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. We've grown an audience. I mean, we have a product here. And then the times I've run, you know, I've got a campaign page, which you can find on Facebook at Dale Carter for Blue Springs. We didn't update it for Missouri, so it is what it is. Dale Carter for Blue Springs. You can find it there. So my opponent says he's from Blue Springs. I've never met the guy, and I know a lot of Democrats in Blue Springs. Mm-hmm. And he's been like poking at me, trying to get me to respond. Because over here on this side, we have thousands of people, and he has 157. I'm sorry, 159. There were 2 more added. Mm-hmm. So 159. So I'm not going to give him a lot of publicity, but he's ripping into me, and some of this stuff, he's right because I'm right, and others he's just bold-faced lying about, right? He says, I'm focused on an outside audit of county spending. I am, absolutely, right?
Because he's presenting that as a negative thing?
That's a negative. You know, we in Eastern Jackson County, we don't trust what's going on in Kansas City, and why would we, right? They've been taking our money for how long? They've overcharged us with these assessments that are terrible. Thank God Phil Laboda is there. Thank God he got the legislature to unanimously approve the credit issue. Should have been a refund, but hey, we'll take what we can take. But yes, outside forensic audit. I want to know where every dime's going. I think anybody, a responsible person, ought to be able to do that, right? You would think.
Yes.
Transparency. I'm all about that. Now, he throws out a lot of stuff that would be brand new spending. Before we get to brand new spending, I want to see where we are. Right? I want to look at the books. Where's the revenue coming from? What are the expenses going out? And once we determine that, then we can determine if we want to spend any more money. I look at core competencies of what the county government is all about, and my inclination would be to cut But, I think we could have reasonable discussions about that. But he's talking about transportation. He wants countywide transportation. That's a non-starter. I mean, we tried that years ago. That's a non-starter, not going to happen. He wants the county to get into the housing business, start building low-cost housing. Is that a county responsibility? That's what I would ask on that. So blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. He got me to do this. Not going to name checking and all that, but if you go to my campaign page, again, Dale Carter for Blue Springs on Facebook, you'll see a lovely picture of me wearing a black shirt. I've kind of written out where I am on everything, just to remind everybody on where we are in Jackson County and how we move the ball forward, according to me. If at the end of the day, you decide that this guy and adding a whole bunch of new programs and new spending, because they don't have money now, so to pay for all this stuff, you either have to cut other stuff like, I don't know, the sheriff's department, the courts, parks, roads, you want to cut all that stuff to pay for all this stuff, or you got to have tax increases. You want to go that way? Vote for him. You don't want to go that way? Vote for me. It's pretty simple. So check that out. We'll have a fun event coming up. We have a Taco Tuesday event at the Elks Club in Blue Springs. That's going to be July 28th from 5 to 7. Going to be music and fun. Hopefully we'll raise some money along the way. My good friend Joe Jennings at Rancho Grande is supplying the food. You ever eaten at Rancho Grande?
I'm not sure.
Oh, well, you got to come just for the food. It's going to be great. You don't have to be an Elks member to get there. And then things will really start heating up after the August primary. Speaking of which, we mentioned Andy Bakker with Liberty Alliance USA is going to be our guest on this episode. We'll talk about the constitutional amendments, lots of them to talk about. Andy's going to go through what they mean. If you want to follow my campaign, we would love to have a follow there as well on the World Wide Web, not just Facebook, but we're out there everywhere at dalecarter.us and could really use some money. Because I don't want to get in a match where we don't have enough money to get our message out, and this guy sneaks into office, and then you all go, well, how'd that happen? Well, because we didn't have enough money to do digital advertising and billboards and all the things, direct mail, the things we need to do to get our message out above and beyond what we're doing here on the podcast. So, again, a shout out to Clay Como Shooters. They are one of our fine advertisers, 69 Highway in Clay Como between I-35 and I-435. You can reach them on the phone there at 816-452-4867. Find the right gun, protect your family, and get trained on it. There are a lot of guns out there. I had a long conversation with my friend Murray Woodard, who is the executive director of Combat. That's another issue we're going to be talking about down the road here, the combat tax in Jackson County, 1/4 cent. It's going to be on the ballot coming up in November. And that's something you definitely want to vote for because they're making a difference in crime and addiction and all the other things that are going on here. And a lot of guns in the inner city. But it's not a gun issue. It's a people issue. It's a person issue. The gun doesn't pull the trigger. The person pulls the trigger. And you never know when a bad guy is going to break into your house. Find the right gun, protect your family, and get trained on it. My friends at Clay Como Shooters are law enforcement. They train the police. They can train you to protect your family. They buy and sell guns, all major brands with ammo to go with them. Not a big box store, just a neighborhood business looking out for you. An affordable indoor range to help with your training, too. So get on the phone and get with those guys. My wife got her shotgun there, and she just came back from a trip to California, Kurt. And when my wife comes back, I like the house about 75 during the day. And maybe
she drops it to 67.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got to find a lock for the thermostat. She said, well, I got that shotgun at Clay Como Shooters. I can take care of any lock you put on it. So, hey, she's a Cass County redneck. What am I going to say here? Medicare Simplified KC, that's another one of those things that's out there that's looming. If you're about to turn 65, Kirk Doris needs to be on speed dial because he's done this for decades. He's run the traps on this federal program that changes a lot. Every year they make changes to it. Which part? Which plan do you need? Which supplemental plan do you need? because it changes. And then you got to go back every year and make sure you're in the right thing. That's where Kirk Doris comes in. Medicare Simplified KC. Find him on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Reach him on the phone at 816-701-6661. His cell phone. Do I give out his cell phone? I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah, just the web.
Yeah. 3600 South Nolan Road is where the office is. And if you can't get to Kirk, he'll come to you because he's a good guy like that. Again,
tremendous people.
You got somebody in your family turning 65. It's going to be a couple of years for me, a couple and a half years. But I'm already talking to him. It's like, I want to make sure that when I turn 65, I get this done the absolute right way. And when you go in the voting booth and you decide what you're going to vote on in terms of all these amendments that might be confusing, our next guest is going to be the guy who's going to make that all clear for you. Well, early voting has already started, the absentee voting, because it seems like we vote for like a month before the actual election day comes up. But August will be here before you know it, and I think a lot of Republicans wait until election day before they go vote. I think that's kind of like in our nature. And there are several ballot measures that are on the ballot. So we invited Andy Bakker to come back. He's from Liberty Alliance. You were a pinch hitter on our show that we did from Funhouse Pizza in Lee's Summit, and you did such a great job that we've invited you back.
Well, I appreciate it. I wish there was pizza this time.
There's virtual pizza. We're just going to throw it at the screen, and if it sticks, lick it and see if you taste anything. I don't know. We'll get you covered, though. What we should do is with Dingman, since we have Funhouse Pizza, Kurt, we should do like any guest that comes on gets a gift certificate from Funhouse Pizza.
It's a great idea. I'm sure he'll be all about it.
I think he will. I think that's a good idea. Did you like the Funhouse Pizza?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. We'll work on that, and you'll be the first. If we get it worked out, you'll get a gift certificate in the mail. How about that?
Honored.
So we have you on to talk about these amendments, and we'll get to 5. 5 is going to be the last in this discussion because everywhere I go, people are like, "What do you think about 5? What do you think about 5?" And I'm very conflicted, so we'll get to that in a moment, but we'll take them in numerical order. We have 1, 2, 4, and 5 on the ballot, and I think 1 is one that you could probably get rid of pretty quickly, the Parks Tax Renewal.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the least controversial one. It is a 0.1% sales tax renewal. So it's a new tax. It's renewing an existing tax. So not only parks and conservation, but soil and land conservation. So that's probably the best thing you could say in favor of it is that the Farm Bureau likes it and they think that this is important for their farmers. The worst thing you could say about it is it's a tax. And so people got to consider those two different things.
Now, these are for like state parks?
Correct. Yeah. And so one thing to point out is that we right now do not charge admission for our state parks or historical sites. There are states that charge everybody admission. There are states that just charge out-of-state visitors for admission. So there are other options should we not renew this.
So those states that, discriminate based on where you're from, they probably check ID.
Or license plates, yeah.
Oh, okay, license plates too. I'm just making a case there for the Save America Act, which we're going to get to later on in this podcast episode. So, it's not raising your taxes. It's just what it is. And if you like the parks and soil conservation and all that, you should probably just vote to renew it. Amendment 2 is the one that hits close to home in Jackson County. And once again, Jackson County is so inept, so corrupt, so many problems in Jackson County, which is why I'm running for the legislature. I want to get in there and try and fix it. And there are some smart people that I know who are also running. And if we can get a few of those people elected, maybe 4 or 5, I think we can make a big difference. But just like the fact that, the state oversees the Kansas City Police Department because Kansas City, Missouri is so inept and corrupt that they can't run their own police department. We are the only county in Missouri that does not have an elected assessor, so the state is going to have to step in and make us do it, right?
Yeah, something like that. So Jackson County has been exempted from this requirement. They're the only county in the state that doesn't have an elected assessor. And the reason for that is because back in the day, it used to be the mafia. They would be afraid that the mafia would get their own assessor in and go crazy with the assessments. So after the 2023 property tax debacle, there's been a lot of movement. One thing that we talked about back at Funhouse Pizza is just how hard it was to get any accountability for that whole issue. Eventually, Jackson County voters did and recalled Frank White and got a county charter passed. But there's still that exemption in the Constitution that says Jackson County doesn't need an elected assessor. And so we need to take that out. And to do that, because it's in the Constitution, it's got to be a statewide vote. And so, yes, just like you as a Jackson County resident, I would ask people to help us out here.
Yeah. That just brings up another problem with the Constitution, which we'll get to, I think, in number 4. But, whereas the U.S. Constitution has, 27 amendments? I think we're at 27 now. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Missouri Constitution has about 195. I mean, it's just a massive document, right?
Yeah, I should have brought my props. It's 127 amendments. If you look on the Secretary of State's website, 270 pages. The fun stat that I like to throw out there is that 21% of the pages are marijuana regulation.
Okay, fine. Well, we'll get to that. Again, I think we're going to talk about that in number 4, but I'm not done with number 2 yet. Carolyn Caton got a law passed in the legislature. I'm pretty sure the governor signed it. So that wasn't good enough to make sure we have an elected assessor. We still have to take this other step.
Yeah, so she's gotten a few passed. This one is a law that she wrote, but it's got to get approved by the voters because it's a constitutional change.
All right. So that's enough on 2, right? I mean, we're 100% behind that. Get out and vote yes on 2.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got yes on 1, yes on 2. Let's go to 4 because that's very confusing. And I've heard radio spots, which I find kind of funny because I think they were produced by left-wing advocates, unless you're going to tell me it's completely different. And it's like, these 2 women talking, and it's like, all these great conservative ideas that we have could get killed if this thing gets passed. And it's almost comical the way the commercials read, and I don't think that's right.
No, neither do we. Dale, this is the one that we at Liberty Alliance have worked the most on and are working the hardest to get over the finish line. Those ads are from the realtors. That's mostly what you're going to hear on talk radio. We are certainly getting outspent because big money groups like that really like the ability to put their own favorable regulations into our state constitution. Right now, it's way too easy.
Yeah. And would this limit the number of amendment questions that we have on the ballot?
As a practical matter, it probably would. What Amendment 4 does is, first of all, changes the approval process. It would require that amendments get a majority vote in each of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. And so basically the idea there is that any change to our state constitution, our foundational governing document, should have support from all the different regions of the state. And congressional districts are stand-in for that. The other thing it does is it requires that you get the full text of an initiative petition with your ballot. It's no longer good enough to say, well, they had it when they were collecting signatures, or they've got it somewhere at the polling place. You need the full text of the amendment with your ballot.
Well, think about that from an amendment. Again, I compare it to the federal Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and how difficult it is to amend the United States Constitution. It's making it a little more difficult in Missouri, but it probably should be harder to get an amendment on the Constitution.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, the point of the Constitution is to set the structure, to talk about how do the different branches interact with each other. What are the rights that cannot be touched by a simple statewide majority? That's why we have a Bill of Rights in the first place, was a concern that direct democracy might lead to people's rights being taken away.
Yeah.
Something that we've seen here, for sure.
So the way it's set up now, you could have voting blocks in liberal enclaves in Missouri, say Kansas City and St. Louis, and get something overpowered onto the ballot that the rest of the state doesn't want, and this would take that away. That's the way I read it.
Correct. Yeah. And it's not a hypothetical. It's something we've seen over and over again. Easy example is to look back to 2024 and Amendment 3, the pro-abortion amendment, passed by about 100,000 votes statewide, only passed in 7 counties in the city of St. Louis. So the vast majority of the state did not support it. However, just running up the score in St. Louis and Kansas City was enough.
It's a basic civics lesson. I mean, if you want to change laws within a state, use your legislature just like we use Congress to change laws at the federal level, right?
Yeah, we have a lot. We are able to hold our elected officials accountable in a way that we are not able to go after the realtor's campaign manager or the sports betting industry or the marijuana industry, right? If our elected officials don't listen to us or don't do what we like, we can vote against them next time. We don't have that ability in an initiative petition process, and that's why we need a higher standard.
Or if you have an intractable county executive, you can recall that person.
Absolutely.
I think I read that somewhere. Okay, so looks like yes on 1, yes on 2, yes on 4?
Yes on 4.
Okay, yes on 4. So we get to number 5, and that is the one about the pathway to removing the state income tax in the state of Missouri. And I have friends on both sides of this, very conservative folks on both sides of this issue. And when I listen to them, Mike Searpoy makes a very eloquent argument for voting yes to eliminate the state income tax. And then, I have other friends like Joe Nicola, who's also a good conservative, and he'll make a compelling argument against not going this direction. So where do you come down on it?
Yeah, I'm a yes. I was lucky enough to hear the We the People forum the other night with Joe Nicola and Bishop Davidson. From my perspective and from our organization's perspective, this is something that makes Missouri more competitive, sends a market signal that this is the place where businesses come to grow and thrive. Also where, professionals and entrepreneurs and income earners should come to grow and thrive. So we compare our state to places like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, but also the Dakotas and Alaska, Wyoming that are doing quite well. We're in favor of it. I certainly don't begrudge anyone who says, I don't pay income tax right now. Therefore, a broadening of the base would hurt my bottom line. That's why I'm against it. But I think from an economics perspective and a policy perspective, it really is the right way to go.
Well, when I heard Nicola speak, he talked about the fact that if you don't want an income tax in Missouri, take the statutes that's there now and just zero it out. Say, we don't have one. Now what? And so the fear that's out there is that we're going to get to a no income tax, a pathway to no income tax, but it's going to remove guardrails and allow sales tax on things that aren't taxed right now. And so that's going to end up hurting people. I mean, I get, this is why I'm so conflicted, because I agree with you. I want us to be competitive with a state like Tennessee, which I think is very close to what Missouri is. A couple of big cities, NFL franchise, they're very analogous. And, we have Lake of the Ozarks, they have Nashville. I get all of that, but I worry about, it's a trust issue. Do we trust our legislators not to just ram it to us in areas where they've never done it before?
Yeah, fair point on the trust issue. What I would say is that actually reading the bill, there are a lot of guardrails there and things that we can count on. So, yeah, I think the plan is absolutely to expand the sales tax base to include at least some services. But that's, the way that the amendment is set up means that any extra income coming from that has to be used to pay down other tax rates. So if our revenue goes up, the government doesn't just get to keep that and put it in its pocket. It has to use that money to pay down other rates. income tax being first among those. But it's got a provision because if we allow the sales tax to be applied to other stuff, that helps local sales taxes too, right? That raises more local sales tax revenue. They can't just pocket that windfall either. They have to use that to pay down your local property tax and sales tax rates. So I think there are a lot of protections in there. It is going to have to go through the legislative process, and there absolutely are going to be people searching for exemptions. I think there's going to be a lot fewer exemptions than we have right now with our current sales tax system.
Okay. Well, as a conservative guy, I look at it as here's what our government ought to do. How do we pay for it? And yet, like the guy I'm running against, who's about as liberal as you can get, he looks at it like this is all the stuff that I'm dreaming about doing. We'll worry about the money later. And then they look at this and go, all right, here's where we're getting money. We're going to tax that. We're going to tax that, tax you. And of course, we're going to tax the rich.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if we just look at our financial situation, and I think it's reasonable to do that. Our states having an issue, just like a lot of states are, that the COVID money is running out, right?
Right.
We are going to have to make cuts. We are going to have to increase revenue, and cutting income taxes has actually increased our revenue over the past 10 years. But we've got to take some action. What I would say to people who are rightly concerned about that is that the state auditor, Scott Fitzpatrick, has endorsed a yes vote on 5 because from his viewpoint, this is helping our financial position.
Do you think this is going to pass? And the reason I ask that is because I'm hearing a lot of pushback. And there are people, one of the areas we haven't talked about yet is you got the Kansas effect. You've got what Brownback did over in Kansas and people in Missouri saying, oh, we've seen this movie before. And they're going to vote no, apparently. So I think this is going to be a tight one.
I do too. I haven't seen any recent polling on the issue. Obviously, there's huge spending on both sides.
Right.
Kansas issue is I think a real one from a messaging perspective, but the bill was just very different. They took away all of their taxes in one fell swoop without going through this gradual progression, among other things. So I think it's going to be close. And what we're seeing, and what's hard for people who are kind of on the conservative circuit, is that it's not a clean partisan issue, right? 60% of Missourians pay income taxes. We've got Democrats and Republicans in that 60%,
right.
And in that 40% who don't. And so it'll be a little bit jumbled up. I think it'll be close, and it'll be fun to watch.
Well, that's true, and that's coming up first Tuesday in August. What is the date on that? Do you know?
August 4th.
August 4th.
We are 26 days away as we record.
Okay, and of course this drops on Saturday, and early voting's already taking place, right?
Yeah.
So we won't know that until the night of the election, but definitely get out there, make your voice heard. Learn as much about this as you can, and that's why we're doing this deep dive on the podcast, because there's so much more that you can get into than you can in a 30-second commercial. And we've had guests on. I mean, John Patterson's one of my dear friends, and one of his arguments he makes is there's about 3 million people who pay the income tax and about 40 million people who come through Missouri. So maybe we put out a bigger net and take some of that money and give relief to the people who actually have jobs here.
I think that's right. I think broadening the base is the right way for us to go economically.
All right. Anything else we should, based on your answers, we should probably go yes, 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Well, the big one for us is yes on 4. But yeah, that works for us too.
Yeah. Anything else out there that we should talk about politically as we get closer to August? Because this will probably be the last time you're on before August, because I doubt I can get the pizza thing done, before August.
Well, I appreciate that, Dale. The things that I would flag is that the ballot measures don't end in August. Amendment 3 is our pro-life health and safety measure that we get to vote on in November.
Right.
And we really need to pass Amendment 4 because right now there's an outstanding initiative petition that would make it really hard to make changes in the future. All
right. Fair points on all that. Andy Bakker, Liberty Alliance. We appreciate you spending the time and look forward to we'll have you back on before the November election, okay?
Thanks, Dale.
All right, take care. So actually, Andy came up, I think, with a really good idea there that we should go to Jim Dingman and say, hey, for our guests, let's get them a gift certificate to Funhouse Pizza.
Was that his idea or was that your idea? I think that was.
Well,
your
he said
idea.
he liked the pizza, and then it did click in my head because I remember watching the old Cubs baseball broadcasts on WGN. They would have a guy on the pregame show, and he always got like a watch or something from some jeweler in the Chicagoland area.
Right,
so, you know, our guests, we want them to get pizza. And the best pizza in town, of course, is Funhouse Pizza. 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Just not only the best pizza, the best atmosphere, but if you got a birthday party for one of your kids or grandkids, they will love Funhouse Pizza. The video games, the pinball games, the rides for the littles, just a fun atmosphere. And look at that pizza. If you're watching on video, look at that woman. She just took like an entire slice in one bite. You know, they got the little foosball table going there. They got every kind of beer you want on tap. And they got people in costumes. And Jim Dingman wears a funny hat. Lee Summit and Blue Springs. 50 Highway Lee Summit, 7 Highway Blue Springs. You're just in the mood for pizza? Go grab one to go. Funhousepizza.com for our friends at Funhouse Pizza. My friend in the real estate business is Michael Schroer. Have you picked up on the fact that the Facebook advertising community are friends of mine? Because they are. And Michael's a guy who sells houses for a living out of Remax Elite in Lee Summit. I saw him post something the other day that he was selling a hobby farm, that somebody was going to close on a hobby farm. You ever heard of a hobby farm? What does that even mean?
It means it's a farm that's your hobby.
Yeah, well, okay, all right, fine. I could tear that apart myself. But do people actually do that? Do they buy?
This is the post right here that I just set up.
Yeah.
Henry County Hobby Farm.
Yeah. Hobby farm.
So it's probably like 5 acres, you know, like it's not, you know, it's not a farm that's going to be like your main source of income or anything like that. It's a hobby farm.
You're just out there farting around, you know, whatever you're doing. Well, this guy can get you hooked up with a hobby farm. He can get you your first home, your bigger home, your downsized home. Maybe you got a piece of property. Maybe it's a hobby farm in Henry County. I don't know. And you're going to build a log cabin, for crying out loud. This is the guy that you need to be talking to. His name is Michael Schroer, Remax Elite in Lee Summit. The office number is 816-373-8400. You can reach him on his cell. Livelihood of these real estate folks is their cell phones, 816-520-9342. And his email address, michaelschroer56@gmail.com. You spell Schroer, SCHROER, and then the number 56@gmail.com. He's also helping me decide what I'm going to do with Casa del Carter. We're not quite to a decision yet, but we're working on that. You turned me onto a phrase, doom scrolling, and I've kind of picked up on that. I guess that's when you're looking at Facebook and you're just looking to depress yourself, right? Because it's so much of it out there.
Yeah, you get caught in the outrage cycle of just, you know, reading people's dumb reactions or watching stupid videos online. Yeah.
And you just shake your head and it's like, why am I doing this to myself? Why are you doing this to yourself? I have no idea. I got a very liberal friend who I've known in the music business for over 40 years. His name is Larry. That's all you're going to get out of me. And I saw a post from Larry, and this is hysterical if you knew him. He's sick of politics in his feed. Well, if you looked at Larry's feed, every other post from him is Trump is Hitler. Trump's a Nazi. Release the Epstein files. Oh, what about January 6th? And he says he's tired of it. Are some of these TDS people finally done?
I don't know. I don't think they'll ever be done in the same way. I mean, it's just there's like a chemical dopamine response that gets you hooked on the doom scrolling. That's why it's so hard to quit it.
You know, I was talking to John Patterson about running for office. He's the Speaker of the House, friend of mine. By the way, he's going to speak at our event on July 28th. And I said, John, what's the secret to all this? And he says, just show up everywhere and don't be a jerk. I mean, you know, people could take that advice and live their lives a lot better.
Yeah.
Just show up and don't be a jerk.
Yep.
And if you have something that comes up, and I've been guilty of this before, I'm much more disciplined now. My opponent for the November election, he's reading the old Dale Carter playbook, because the old Dale Carter playbook would be jab at him, say something about him, and then he will erupt like a volcano. And it'll go all over every one of his followers, and I'll get some of those people, and perhaps my footprint will grow bigger than 159. I don't do that anymore. I've become more disciplined. So I would suggest to anybody who has that feeling that they need to say something that's going to provoke a response, just don't. Just stop. And that's what I would tell my friend Larry. Just stop. All right? You've worn yourself out on rage. You got Trump. Trump's not going anywhere for a couple of years. Clock is ticking. He's 80 years old. I know that you want to believe he's going to run again in 28. He's going to violate the Constitution because he's Trump. He's not going to do that. We're finally going to get the flush. There's a flush that's about to happen, right?
Yep.
The flush is going to be the Trumps of the world, the Bidens of the world, the Clintons of the world. That generation is about to flush out. And it's going to be an exciting time. I would think you as a younger guy would be very excited about it. We're going to see a new generation.
Yeah, I mean, we could just see the continuation of that. I mean,
who's still old, who's viable?
Well, by the continuation of that, I don't mean necessarily the same exact people, but like the continuation of that political heritage or lineage, which would, in this case for Trump, be like Marco Rubio or something.
Yeah.
Or Ted Cruz, somebody who's been around for a while.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, I would like to see some truly fresh blood in the pool,
I would too.
Yeah, politically speaking, of course. But, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a long ways out still.
It certainly is. But, the political calendar moves very fast, as we found out in the 5.5 years of this podcast. Now we have the curious case of Graham Platner. He was the manly man. Democrats were looking for a manly man. We tried Tim Walz. Tim wasn't manly enough, it turned out. So now we got to find a guy. Oh, yeah, he's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest.
That guy, yeah.
He just takes women whenever he wants to take them because he's a manly man. I think Elizabeth Warren was actually smitten with him. Check this out.
I'm here because Washington needs fighters, and Graham Platner is the fighter we need. You bet. I said to myself, that's my kind of man. I am here.
Jeez.
I think she got moist on that. I don't know. Perhaps. Maybe she wanted to invite him over for a beer. I mean, you got Maine and Massachusetts. They kind of connect there.
She wanted to invite him over for a traditional Native American.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that
dance ceremony.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bernie was on board too. We got a Bernie clip.
All right.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Graham Platner is the next senator from the state of Maine.
Yeah. There you go, Bernie. So what changed? Because they all fled like rats off of a ship. You know what changed? Because we knew a lot of this going in. We knew about the Nazi tattoo. We knew he had problems with women in his past. We knew all about this guy. What changed was the victim. The first one was a conservative, right?
The woman?
Yeah, the woman was a conservative. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Remember, Democrats have this mantra, believe all women. They've used it before, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Brett Kavanaugh. Believe all women. That when he was going through the hearings for the Supreme Court, believe all women. This woman said she met him at a party when he was in high school, and he came on too strong or whatever like that. And Brett's like, I have no idea who this is. Mm-hmm. Believe the woman, just because she said so. We went through this with Donald Trump too. E. Jean Carroll, is that her name? I guess he's going to have to write a check for $5 million to her. That's gone through the courts already, because he was civilly liable, not criminally liable, civilly, where the burden of proof is a whole lot lower.
Right.
Donald Trump says he never met her. How do you prove that? You don't. So you take it on civilly, and then Trump being Trump, he said a bunch of crap about her, and she sued him over that, and she won in court.
Yep.
So that's where we are on that. And then you go back.
That's a good example of shutting your mouth, by the way.
Exactly. Just be quiet. Trump will never do that.
Yeah.
Trump is Trump. I mean, he's going to be.
spend $5 million for not keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah. If he were running against the guy I'm running against, the guy I'm running against would all of a sudden have like 55 million followers.
Right.
Because, that's what that leads to. You remember Carville when Bill Clinton was president and these women came forward. Carville's response was not believe all women. Carville's response was drag $100 bill through a trailer park and you never know what you're going to get. Does that sound like believe all women?
It sounds pretty derogatory, honestly.
It does. So, when the next one that came forward was a Democrat, it's like, oh no, now we've got a problem. We have to go back to the baseline. We have to believe all women, especially if they're Democrats, because if they're Republicans, that's the problem there. So this clip is actually from CNN, believe it or not, and they nail it.
People who dragged this woman who was in the Lindsay Fiffield, who was in the New York Times story, they called it uncorroborated claims. Another person basically said that she was essentially a plant of the Republican Party. And now those people have changed their tune. But I also think, is there an apology that needs to be had here?
Yes.
And some
Yeah.
soul searching that needs to
Absolutely.
be had here? Is it enough to just say, well, this woman, I believe, I didn't believe the last one. And Lindsay Fiffield pointed out to Ruben Gallego, mine weren't sufficiently troubling or serious for you. After that first allegation, it is fair to ask, what's up with people who have to look at the partisan identification next to your name before they decide whether or not they're going to listen to you?
I think that's pretty fair. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair, but she's putting that within the framework of the believe all women thing. She's saying we should believe all women regardless of whether they're Democrat or Republican. And I would say we should believe the truth, whether it's
that's
Democrat
true.
or Republican, not necessarily just because, they have certain parts or whatever.
Now, when I put this together, Platner was still in the race, but he has since dropped out of the race. So I'm wondering if we could do a quick audible here and not play that next clip and maybe find a quick clip of Platner bowing out. I know he released a video that's like 11 minutes long, and we don't want to give him 11 minutes. But if there's a shorter version of it, long and short is he basically bowed out of the race, and Maine Democrats now are going to meet, and they're going to, get in the smoke-filled room, and they're going to find somebody to go up against Collins up in Maine.
Here's the video. I mean,
As many of you know, over the past couple days, I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear, this is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. It's not real. It has placed an immense amount of weight on me as I think about what needs to happen now. Amy and I are regular people. We were not looking for this experience. We were not looking to get into politics. We had no desire to run for office. It needs to belong to the people of Maine. And the next Democratic senator for Maine needs to belong to the people of Maine. They need to reflect the will and the values of the people of this state.
And mow the grass.
yeah. Anyways, we're not going to watch that.
Yeah,
whole
no.
thing,
So
but-
he's out, So to summarize all of this, if you want to be a Democrat scumbag, make sure you're attacking a Republican woman because you're more likely to get away with it. And if you're a Republican, you were hosed by any accusation, even if there's no credible evidence that you ever met the woman. See Brett Kavanaugh and Donald Trump. The accusation alone is going to be enough. Now, Republicans have their own problem in the Senate. They've got a Joe Biden problem in the Senate. And, we're not going to turn a blind eye to this because this is a problem too. And this is the case of Mitch McConnell. Where is Mitch McConnell? Nobody knows where Mitch McConnell is. He's dropped out. There are rumors that he had a heart attack, had to have CPR to be brought back. There are other rumors that he's in a vegetative state. No one has seen him yet. A series of Republicans say that they've had, quote unquote, 20-minute conversations with Mitch. And he's fine. He's like, He's just fine. He's not fine. I mean, when he was in the Senate, we saw this when he was Senate Majority Leader, where he would have these instances where he's speaking and all of a sudden just go,
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's bad. It's bad.
You're done at that point.
Yeah.
You know, we've railed and railed against Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, who have made lifetimes off the American taxpayer. They've made lives off the American taxpayer. Joe Biden did it for 50 years. You know, a senator for most of that time, 8 years as vice president, 4 as president. I think he's got a pretty good pension socked away by now. This was never what the founders intended for what's going on here. And Mitch McConnell, you're just as bad. Chuck Grassley, you're just as bad. I think Chuck's like 90 years old or something, and he's still in the Senate. New blood. Let's get the flush going. Let's get new blood, new ideas and all that.
They're going to come out and say, you know, about Mitch McConnell. They're going to be like, he's sharper than he's ever been.
Yeah.
I
mean,
just like they did with old Joey.
It was bullshit when they did it for Biden, and it's bullshit when you do it for Mitch McConnell, too. And Glenn Beck, of all people, is calling them out.
I had a 20-minute conversation with Mitch McConnell last night. No, I didn't. Okay? No, I didn't. And anybody, I could do a really bad playback of the conversations that were happening, but I'm not going to because Ricky said, please don't do that. But I can do it. I could. And the younger Glenn would have been doing it the whole day. But let me just say this. You know what the conversation, because I could have a conversation. I had a great 20-minute conversation with Joe Biden yesterday. And you know what it was? And you're wearing shoes today. That's nice. Your shoes. Oh, I'm wearing shoes today. You can have a 20-minute conversation with Joe Biden. You can have a 20-minute conversation with Mitch McConnell. But when did the GOP become the same people that we've been complaining about? Joe Biden wasn't there. I'm sure Mitch. Did you talk to him about, you know, finer details on rocket science? Did you talk to him about the budget? Did you talk to him about anything that a functioning senator would need to know? Or were you like, and how's the soup here? So please stop with your, I had a 20-minute conversation. Yeah, and a lot of people in the Biden administration had 20-minute conversations, and they didn't see a problem at all. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I mean, really, we're goldfish. Do you not remember, 2 years ago? Do you not remember what we've been saying for the last 5 years about people like, I just talked to Joe Biden. He's great. And now you're doing it? What's wrong with you? Oh. Anyway.
That's Glenn Beck, and he makes a great point. Now, why is this going on? Let's pull back and let's talk about the politics of this. Andy Bakker is the governor of Kentucky. Andy's a Democrat. So if Mitch McConnell steps down from this Senate seat, Andy Bakker, the Democrat governor of Kentucky, is going to appoint the next senator until the next election. And it's going to be a Democrat. And it's a very thin margin in both houses of Congress right now, and Republicans don't want to give that up. So kind of like Joe in the White House, as long as Mitch McConnell has a pulse, and maybe if he even doesn't, maybe if they can just keep that under wraps.
AI video.
Yeah, they're going to keep that seat for all that's worth. And that's just wrong. And if Mitch McConnell had stepped down a long time ago and the people of Kentucky had put someone else in there, you know, graveyards are full of indispensable men and women. Mm-hmm. You are not indispensable. Donald Trump is not indispensable to this republic. No one in the House or Senate is. I'm not. Kurt probably is.
Thank you.
But, you know, move on to the next generation. Do your time. Serve and move on. You know, I tried to do that. You know, I served 9 years on the Blue Springs City Council. I was done. I was out of politics for 6 years when they drafted me into this thing. And if 4 years down the road, I'm banging my head in the wall because I can't get anything done because I'm the only Republican on that legislature, I'm not going to run again. Why would I do that? Time's ticking.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, but it's Hollywood for ugly people. It draws the attention of people who want to seek the spotlight and seek power and seek attention. And it's by any means necessary that you're going to hold that majority. And you're right. He should have probably dropped out a long time ago, but he didn't. And the reason that he didn't is because he's in it for himself, and he's in it for his own image and his own legacy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that now it's too late. Now it's obvious to everyone that he's not, he's having serious problems, which, God bless him. I hope he gets better and we pray for his health and everything.
Yeah,
but like, that's, not acceptable in political practice. It shouldn't be.
I hope I never get to a point where I've dropped out of life and nobody's seen or heard from me in a while, and you're on this podcast saying you had a 20-minute conversation with me, and I'm sharp as a tack.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, though, because it's like, imagine doing that with any other profession.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine if you were on the radio and then you got sick, but you just, like, AI generated, breaks, you know what I mean, to make it seem like you were fine. Like, nobody would do that. Everyone would clearly see that as like psychotic behavior. You know what I mean?
But we don't see that in our politicians. Psychotic behavior. By the way, Donald Trump had a little faux pas where he referred to Iran as the Islamic Republic of Japan. And, so now they're all jumping on him for that. It's like, he doesn't even know what country it is. It's like, you're the same people who defended Joe Biden.
Yeah.
For once, I would just love hypocrisy to take a break. Take a break for a day. Just be real, all right? Just be like Mark Muller, my good friend at Max Motors, because Mark is as real as they come. Mark wants to sell you a vehicle. He's got the American-made brands. He's in the smaller communities, which means he doesn't have the big city costs that are going on. So he can sell you a new Ford, Chrysler, GMC, all the major brands, Chrysler. He's got them all. The American-made brands that you know and love. And if you don't want to go to places like Richmond, Clinton, Butler, Nevada, all great communities, by the way. I've spent a lot of time in Clinton. You go through Clinton to get to my mother-in-law's house down by the Ozarks. He'll bring the car to you. Think about Amazon. We now don't shop. I mean, if I need something and I want to, like tomorrow, I'm going to go to Amazon. I'm going to buy it, and then it's going to be dropped off at my house. Sometimes it happens the same day. I mean, I don't even know how they do this anymore, but it's gotten so easy to do. Imagine if you bought a car that way. The easiest place that you're ever going to buy your next car is the Max dealerships, Max Motors and MaxMotors.com. Go there right now while you're with the podcast. Pick out one you like, and they'll drive it to you. And then they'll do the deal right there at your house. Small town American values, God, family, and country. And if you don't buy from Max, Mark says, please buy American. And no matter what you buy, you want to keep that car on the road, Christian Brothers Automotive will get that done for you. ChristianBrothersAuto.com. My friend Tim Porter, he owns the one. They're each individually owned and operated. They're very clean, and they're very trustworthy. You're talking Christian is something that they take very seriously. It's not just a name. It's a Christian ethic that they have there, and that's a service ethic. They want to serve you and your automotive needs. They're going to do it as inexpensively as they possibly can, give you the best warranty that they could possibly give you, and keep your vehicle on the road, especially if it's your wife's vehicle and she's taking your kids around. You want to trust that the repairs were made, that that vehicle is maintained. So reach out to my friend Tim. Get started with an oil change, rotate those tires, all the maintenance you need to have done, and then when you need serious work done, 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, whichever benefits you the most. They do all the brands, including the hybrid and the electric vehicles. 816-795-6811. That's the number for Christian Brothers Automotive in Independence, right on 40 Highway, just to the east of the 291 470, whatever you call that road in there at 40 Highway where it intersects. He is just to the east of that. Good guy. Will take care of you and your family. I wish he were in Congress, because I wish he were in the Senate, because I'll bet I could motivate him to get this Save America Act through. I don't understand this, Kurt. We have Republican majorities in the House and the Senate. There's a pathway to get this thing done. There are people out there who are saying nuke the filibuster. Just get rid of it. And there are Republicans, conservative Republicans, and I consider myself conservative, who are saying, well, it's a tradition in the Senate. We don't want to be the party that blows up the tradition. Let me tell you what's coming. We lose this fall. We lose the House and the Senate. We lose the Senate. The first thing the Democrats are going to do, let me tell you, the first thing the House Democrats are going to do, H.R. 1, write this down, put it in a mason jar, and open it if the Democrats win. H.R. 1 will be impeach Donald Trump. Doesn't matter what. It's a fill-in-the-blank thing. Maybe they'll come with 15 articles. I don't know. They're trying to set a new record. But H.R. 1 will be impeach Donald Trump. And the first thing they're going to do in the Senate is get rid of the filibuster. If they've got a majority of 1, they're going to get rid of the filibuster. Then, they've already talked about packing the Supreme Court. I think all these ideas the Democrats are having, Republicans ought to be saying, you know what, if that's so great, let's do it now. Mm-hmm. Let's get rid of the filibuster right now. You want to pack the court? You want to make it 15, 20, 21, whatever the number needs to be? We'll pack it right now. You'll find out how quickly they retreat.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the very least, that's a very strong rhetorical argument to push back on that. It's like, well, if they say they want to do it, so why not? Why shouldn't we do it right now?
Yeah.
Just start saying it and put it out there, and I think that's a good way to challenge the narrative. Whether you actually do it or not is a different story, but
we've talked about, they keep talking about bringing Puerto Rico and DC in as states.
Yeah.
Let's find some conservative enclaves and go ahead and do that now.
Yeah.
We'll get a couple of more Republicans from each.
Well, I mean, I think one thing is certainly true regardless of what the particular issue is, if it's the filibuster or the court or whatever. I mean, when Democrats get in, they seem to be very motivated, and they seem to actually hit the ground running and get done what they can with what they have, or even change the rules or ignore the rules. And we just don't do that. We Republicans have a lot of excuses and not a lot of results. And that's been going back since the first Trump administration, where we had the president and Congress and the Senate, and we didn't get the border wall, we didn't get the deportations, we didn't get the stuff that we were told we were going to get, and then it was just excuses. Well, we need more. We don't have 2/3. That's why we couldn't get it. It's like there's only one party making excuses like that, and it's not the Democrats.
Well, John Thune is the majority leader in the Senate, and he's not getting a passing grade right now. So whatever needs to happen there needs to happen. We got to move on. So I'm not bullish on getting the Save America Act and getting voter ID done. And Gavin Newsom certainly is not going to help. He loves California's system. No voter ID, elections that keep on going until they get the desired result. I mean, how lame does that look? It's like, well, we got a Republican who's in the top 2, going to be there for the runoff. We got to keep counting votes. Keep counting votes. Oh, we just got 25,000 from there, and none are voting for the Republican. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But he thinks it's all just fine. And then, my liberal friends say, well, we don't see any reports of voter fraud. I mean, how would you? Again, in California, it is illegal to even ask for an ID. And Gavin Newsom is saying that if Donald Trump tries to make this federal, he will be standing in the way.
Whoops.
That doesn't look right.
Let me speak directly to anyone considering helping President Trump interfere with our election or our count. If you violate California's laws, if you interfere with our voters, tamper with our ballots, or meddle in our election, you will be prosecuted. Doesn't matter who gave the order. That's why I'm moving forward with new legislation that would make it a felony to seize ballots before the vote has been certified by state and county officials. We will be the wall he cannot get past, because we believe that once an election is decided, the winner governs for everyone. That's the architecture of American liberty. Donald Trump, he doesn't believe in that architecture. Let me speak.
Yeah.
So that is either very highly edited audio with like noise gate and a little bit of correction on it, or that is AI.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's probably the former. Let me just check the...
Let me speak directly to anyone considering
here, because I'm like, that doesn't... Something about that seems weird. How do I get to the...
Well, it struck me
Let
as...
me speak.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
All right. It struck me as very George Wallace from the segregation days. Obviously, you're way too young for that, but you've probably seen the video of George Wallace standing in the doorway at the University of Alabama saying, "Segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever." He was on the wrong side of that issue, and he saw the light eventually. And I think Gavin's on the wrong side of this issue.
Yeah, I don't think that's AI. I think it's probably just highly edited, but it's tough. There's a fine line there.
I've seen that on multiple news outlets.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was credible.
Yep.
And then you got Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, who actually said the quiet part out loud.
Senate Majority Leader, and he's saying all of that because the Republicans in the Senate are not trying to push through his bill to restrict voting in this country.
Well, that's right. This is this horrible thing, the SAVE Act, one of the worst, most anti-election democracy things that's ever been proposed. They say it's all about ID, voter ID. It's not. They will remove 25 million people off the rolls. Why? Because they'll require under this act, which is not going to pass, and we're not going to let it pass. We've defeated in court. I was a lead plaintiff in the decision to do that. We've refused to give them the votes that they would want for this. We never will. What it does is it says every state send your election rolls not to the Justice Department or the voting division, but to the Department of Homeland Security, where Musk and DOGE and Vote have installed an algorithm that determines whether you're legitimately right to vote or not. The algorithm is a fix. It'll knock 20 million people, 30 million people off the rolls, and they don't tell you. So Mr. Lawrence O'Donnell could show up at the same voting place he showed up every so often, shown his same ID. Sorry, you're not on the rolls anymore, sir. Well, what do I do about it? Next week, go to the Board of Elections. Trump knows he will lose the election. He said it. Because he has created such chaos and because we Democrats have shown what we're for and the contrast between what we're for and he's for, and there's such a contrast. And so he's got to fix it. We're not letting him do it.
So the quiet part that he said out loud, I don't think any of what he just said is true, that all of the voter rolls are going to be sent to Homeland Security. I don't think that's
I haven't heard
true.
that, but I haven't been following it that
I don't
closely,
think that's true.
So.
But what he said there was 25 million people. Then he upped it. 30 million people will be eliminated from the voter rolls.
I think he said 20 in there, too, at some point. Yeah. So he's using different numbers.
But he's saying people will be removed.
Right.
Not voters.
Right.
Not citizens.
Correct. And I wanted to play the beginning of that clip again, actually, because he sort of pauses here and he uses very deliberate language. I'll get to the part and then I'll pause.
Yeah. Senate Majority Leader, and he's saying all of that because the Republicans in the Senate are not trying to push through his bill to restrict voting in this country.
Well, that's right. This is this horrible thing, the SAVE Act, one of the worst, most anti-election democracy things that's ever been proposed.
So you see he kind of catches himself there. He's about to say one of the most anti-American, but the problem is that we're not talking about Americans. He has to change it.
So, they walk around Capitol Hill a lot. They have to go between the Capitol and the office buildings and all that. So they're out on the street and they are exposed to reporters. And so we got this clip from somebody who wanted to ask him to clarify that. And check out Chuck Schumer's response.
Leader Schumer, you recently said the Save America Act would stop 25 million people from voting. Why did you not say citizens? Is this an admission that aliens are voting in American elections?
Nope, not going to answer that.
Is the housing bill more important than securing elections, Mr. Leader?
Just keep walking. Eyes forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, I don't blame him. It's like, avoid the woman in the red dress. It's a trap every time.
I could write a book on that. In fact, I think I did. Yeah. So we're not sure if it's going to get done. Probably not. Most of the country, I want to make this understood here, most of the country, including Kansas and Missouri, get this right. You have to show an ID to vote. I mean, it's common sense. All the other places you have to show an ID, yet voting, something we hold sacred for citizenship, we'll take your word for it. Not a big deal. Yeah. So we get it right. California gets it wrong. We have laboratories of democracy. We talk about this all the time. California is getting it wrong on multiple levels. New York is getting it wrong on multiple levels. And we're seeing what's happening. People are voting with their feet. They're voting with U-Haul. They're voting with their dollars. So we'll see how it all ends up going for those two states. One thing that we do know for sure, the American flag makes Sonny Hostin feel unsafe.
And with an American flag on that cap, you might as well have a hood on. You might as well have a hood on, because that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like.
But you say this is the best nation. The best nation for who?
Yeah, when you say it's the best nation.
When you say it's the best nation, the best nation for who? Because if we are celebrating 250 years, what are we exactly celebrating is what I want to know. And so I'm really glad that picture was taken, because that picture is how we feel walking into many rooms down the street. That picture is how we feel, and nobody will believe us. So look at that picture and understand how it feels.
And you never should be made to feel like that. It's wrong that this woman is.
And I said this on this show many, many years ago, because this is my 10th year on the show, and I said there are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy, and that should never be the symbol of white supremacy, but they have weaponized.
Can we just give The View their passport updates and let them go to whatever country that they want to go to?
Yeah, well, they've. Who was it? Rosie O'Donnell that moved?
Yeah,
and
Rosie
she came back, or did she?
She went to Ireland.
Yeah,
right.
She came back. But I mean, you notice she says it makes her feel uncomfortable. It's not that anything bad has happened to her.
No,
she
none
just
at all.
feels uncomfortable because she's indoctrinated. By the way, this was let me find the still here in the clip.
The picture that they reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was a peaceful protest, by the way.
Yeah, so this picture here, there's this like far right group that had this July 4th rally in DC, and
they burn anything down?
They did not burn anything down. And this picture here went viral. Now, I would imagine, and I haven't seen anything to the contrary, that nothing bad happened to this woman here.
Nope. She just felt
in
bad.
fact, it actually came out. I'm not making this up. It came out that she was recently arrested for indecent exposure.
Oh, is that right?
On the train.
My goodness.
So this person was exposing herself on the train. So they pick like the worst heroes, man. It's like,
yeah, way to go.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. Growing up on our street, my stepdad was a cop, right? Within that one block, we lived on one house on the far end. We were at 1600, and whatever the last house is in the 1600 block, there was a police officer that lived there. And in the middle of the block was a police captain. So we had 3 police officers in a block. We all had American flags, and I had a very safe childhood. I always felt safe. When I go to Florida, one of the communities we're looking at as a possible retirement home in the future is Freeport, Florida. When you drive through that community, it's made up of a lot of people who work at Eglin Air Force Base, which is the largest Air Force base in the world. So there are American flags everywhere. And I feel safe every time I go there. I mean, when did the American flag become something that made you feel unsafe? I don't get that.
It's just total propaganda, psychosis, self-reinforcing craziness. I mean, if you tell yourself something over and over again, if you tell yourself that if you're black in a white neighborhood, you're in danger, despite the fact that you've never been in danger, and if you turn the tables, you're actually in much more danger. The reality doesn't matter. It's just reflexively reinforcing that narrative in your head over and over again, and then you actually start to believe it, and then you become a paranoid person. And I mean, nobody should live that way.
I love Washington, D.C. I've been many, many times, and I was there in the 90s. We used to do the rating service that rates radio stations used to be called Arbitron. Now it's Nielsen. and Arbitron's headquarters was in Laurel, Maryland. So I would make trips to Laurel to, audit the books, basically, and see what was going on behind the scenes. And I always turned it into a trip to D.C. And I always took one of the people who worked for me. And so this particular time, I had with me a guy named Jim Wheeler. We called him 18 Wheeler on the air, Jim 18 Wheeler. And Jim, probably a shade whiter than I am. And we had these white satin jackets for the radio station. It was Country 92.5 in Hartford. White satin jacket with the red and blue logo on it. So we decided we wanted to take a nighttime tour of D.C. So we get on the Metro, and we're riding in, and two very white individuals wearing white satin jackets. And I look around, and we're the only white people on the train. Mm-hmm. And a woman sitting across from me on the train goes, "You shouldn't be here." And I didn't care. I was in D.C. It was a nighttime tour of Washington, D.C., and nothing bad happened to me. And I did not feel unsafe. And I don't think Sunny Hostin should feel unsafe when she walks onto a street and there's American flags displayed.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what would happen if one of those people at that rally said to that black lady on the train, "You shouldn't be here. What you doing?
Oh my God.
What you doing here?" Insert expletive. It's like, you'd never hear the end of it. So that's how you know that it obviously didn't happen,
I'm disappointed in myself because I have 4 columns in the front of my house, and we used to have an American flag on one of those columns. And because it's round, I had to have a saddle made that would hold the flag and all that. And we replaced the columns because they rotted out from the bottom. So when we replaced the columns, I never got that saddle remade, and we don't have an American flag now. I keep telling myself I'm going to put a flagpole in the ground somewhere, and, Ed Walker, who works with me, says, it's easy. You just go get the kit and a little concrete work, but you can do this. I know in my heart I can't do anything. So I'm looking at some point to get it, but I would love to have a flagpole in my front yard with an American flag flapping in the breeze. I'm disappointed in myself that I don't, and I'm going to make an effort to get that done just so that Sunny Hostin will feel uncomfortable if she ever comes to my house. I doubt that she ever will.
Just for her. That's the entire reason you're doing it, so that she won't come over for dinner.
When she comes to the house, though, I'm going to show her that immaculate roof that I have on my house, because Roofed by Royal put that roof on my house. And they'll do the same thing for you. We've had a lot of storms. In fact, as we're recording this today, we had loud thunderstorms again last night. So with all the hailstorms we had this spring, I'm certain that there are roofs in this metro area that need to be looked at by my friend Austin Watterson. Get him on your roof. It is a no obligation, free examination of your roof. And Austin's one of the most trustworthy people I know. He will shoot you straight. It's like, nope, you're fine. Everything is good. Or, hey, here's what we found. And, maybe we could put this Tamco Hail Guard Beyond Class 4 roof on your house, and your insurance guy is going to love you. That would be a change of pace, wouldn't it? Get Austin on your roof. Find out what the health of your roof is, and let's go from there. RoofedByRoyal.com. You can reach them on the phone at 816-540-7057. Did I mention on the last episode that Mark Zarda, super fan of Dale Carter's America?
Yeah, you've mentioned it before, yeah.
That he has a roof from Royal Roof? Okay, fine. I'm just, you know what?
No, it doesn't help to say it again.
If you get a roof from Austin, let me know, and I'll give you a shout out as well if you want. And then I mentioned your insurance guy's going to be...
Mark Zarda's review on the website, right?
Is that his house? That's not his house.
No, his review on the side.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I was just at his house, actually, in Olathe last weekend.
Cool.
Good guy. And your insurance guy, he's going to be thrilled. His name is Bob Watson. That's my insurance guy. 816-229-7878. 7th and Main in Blue Springs. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, pontoon boats that are out on the lakes. Get a rate quote from Bob. I noticed again, I don't know if he's listening to the podcast and lowering my rate on purpose, so I'll say this, but my monthly rate went down again.
He's just been price gouging you this entire time.
Is that what it is?
He's finally...
It hasn't gone down that much.
It's a joke.
But I just noticed it was down a few dollars from what it was last month. So maybe if I talk about it every podcast episode, I'll get to the point where it's free. I doubt that. But insurance is something you got to have. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That's the name you know. My guy is Bob Watson, and I'll share him with you. 816-229-7878, licensed in Missouri and Kansas. Before we leave, Chuck Schumer mentioned that DOGE was going to play a part in Save America. They're going to DOGE your voter registration. Well, this came out this week. DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is now out of business.
Haven't they been for a while? Like, I thought that
they're
they
officially
only
out.
Lasted like a couple months and then they
shuttered it.
Yeah.
So they're done, and we still have nearly $40 trillion in debt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, you got the debt clock up there. The only thing that gives me any hope there is that the deficit is falling. The deficit is the amount of money we're short after spending. Mm-hmm. And then what we're short each fiscal year gets added onto that debt. We're still taking in $5.5 trillion in revenue and still spending over 7. It's not 7.5 anymore. Was that 7.2?
7.2.
Yeah. So we're still spending more than we're taking in. And something has got to give. I don't know if it happens in my lifetime or yours, but I'll bet in your kid's lifetime, something is going to have to give here. And I saw something on Facebook from the great Harry Truman, who I have ultimate respect for as a president, because he said, I'm not giving them hell, I'm just telling them the truth, and they think it's hell. And one of the things that he said late in his life was, every step that we take to make Americans' lives better, the Republicans call socialism, and say socialism is taken over. Mm-hmm. And they go through all these things. Well, how do you think we got to a $40 trillion debt? Mm-hmm. We got there by adding all these things to that are well-intentioned, but it's ballooned our debt. And then the Democrats always say, well, that's okay. Rich people are going to pay for it. We're going to tax all the rich people. We don't have enough rich people to seal that debt. It's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So at some point, we got to fix this. And I don't know how we fix it. I mean, do we start eliminating things? Do we change Social Security? And Social Security is it's not an entitlement. I know that by definition it's an entitlement, but I've been paying into it for 50 years. What if I'd taken that money and put it in the stock market? Mm-hmm. I think I'd be a lot better off than I'm going to be taking it out in Social Security.
Probably.
So that's not an entitlement. That's my money, and I want it back. Just like I have an annuity, just like I have a 401k. I got a lot of different buckets out there that I'm going to draw from, but don't tell me that the government is doing me a favor by giving me back my money when I start taking Social Security. So that's not it. What is it? I think DOGE was a good step, but it was a baby step, and we're going to need a much larger step down the road. So with that sunny view of life, I think we're done for another week, are we?
Sunny,
not?
pun intended.
Yeah, see? Wave that American flag. You got one right behind you.
Yes.
I love that. I'm looking right at an American flag, and I don't feel uncomfortable at all. And I'll be back next week, right here in this spot, and we'll do another episode of Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.